Hello, and welcome to the Not All There podcast. My name is Chad, and I'll be your host for the evening. I thought about doing the entire podcast that way, and I wanted to see if I'd actually pull it off. I bet I could, and that might be, well, I don't know. I don't know if you guys could get through it. I don't know if I could get through it. Oh, man. I'm a little goofy right now because I cannot seem to formulate sentences, putting words together. And I have flubbed this recording so many times. And I've gotten like 10 minutes into it, and I completely just lost my train of thought, could not get it back. And so here we are again. How are you? You good? I hope so. The last episode, that was something, wasn't it? If you haven't listened to it, please do. It's just hang in there. Just hang in there. Listen to it, and I think you're gonna get some things from it. You're gonna get to know a heck of a lot about me, that's for sure. A lot more than I anticipated, but I really enjoyed that. And I don't mind opening up about all the things that I'm talking about because I've carried that stuff around my entire life, and I'm sick of like shagging it around everywhere I go. You know, it's like if you move a lot in your life, there's always that one box that you never unpack. You just move it from one place to the next, and so on. And that is this, the shame and the guilt and the fear, all the traumas and the flashbacks, the PTSD, all of it, the anxiety, depression, all of it. Just been carrying it. And I'm friggin' exhausted. So I feel that it is important for people to hear real, honest conversations about what that's like. Because I know for a fact I'm not some case study. I'm not abnormal in that way. Like a lot of us, a lot of you have those feelings, those emotions that we carry with us day after day, year after year. And we get used to it. And we use those emotions, that energy, it gets like built into our subconscious. And we are so critical of ourselves, and we don't even realize we're doing it. It's just a habit. It's just a subconscious, right? Like your heart beats, you breathe, and you treat yourself like shit. At least that's, what I have done. And I, full disclosure, because I've started and stopped recording so many times tonight, I can assure you that I'm doing it right now as I speak. I am talking, but in my head, I am telling myself, dude, you're doing it again. This one's going to stink. And I'm going to tell that voice, no, it's not. Not today, voice. Not today. What if I started? Maybe we should start a movement that just audibly, when you're having that moment, you're on the bus, you're walking your dog, and just not today, voice, stay out of my head. Have some fun with it. That's what I'm trying to do with all of us too, is, just have fun with it. Don't make fun of it, right? Because that's a negative thing. No one likes to be made fun of. I got made fun of a lot when I was a kid. And those of you who knew me back then can attest that I had a serious case of bucked teeth. I mean, I could not take a bite out of a sandwich that had lunch meat in it. Why, you ask? Because my bottom teeth and my top teeth didn't line up. My bottom teeth just sort of like clacked into the top of my mouth, and my you could land a plane on my upper teeth. Those babies were just out there. And, that's an easy target for kids. And that was hard. That was hard. And I think now that I'm talking about that and reflecting on it, that, those emotions that came with when whoever it was poking fun at me about my teeth, it really just kind of like became part of me, and I took it to heart, and it became part of my daily routine of how I would treat myself. That, oh, well, I've got these awful teeth, and I'm small, I'm squeaky, I'm weak, and all of these things, on and on and on and on and on. And even after I became a full-grown adult, I still visualized and felt that I was this small, crooked-toothed weakling, and that's how I would talk to myself repeatedly. And man, when you're doing that and you're on a good drunk, whew, let me tell you something, Sally, that is not fun. That's a really, really tough place to be. And you try and drown that out with the booze, and then you just throw whatever you can on top of it to try and make that go away. But it's like watering a plant. It just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. The shame and the guilt that piles on with all of that. And then pretty soon that stuff just gets like ingrained in you. And in the you in this conversation I'm having is the me, the Chad. That it just became part of me. And so just at the drop of a hat, I was quick to judge myself, to beat myself up, I guess I'm just really stupid then. Oh, well, God, I guess I just deserved that, didn't I? I guess I did deserve to get hurt or talked to or scared or whatever. I had it coming. Why? Because that's just who I am. That's my role in life. And then I would make people laugh. I like to make people laugh. I like to laugh. It's a hell of a lot of fun. And I'm having more fun with it now than I have in a long time. That said, it was a tactic that I used to shield myself. Absolutely. And I guess you could look at it as maybe a way to shield myself outwardly from the criticism that I was giving myself inside. I'm going to make it seem on the outside that I'm this funny, jovial guy. You're going to laugh and have a good time with me. But inside, I'm just all torn up, just twisted into knots, talking shitty about myself. And only if you were really funny, Chad, maybe you could go places. Only if you were really that way, but you're not. You're not. Taking a breath because I needed to calm down there. I could feel my palms were getting sweaty. That was a peek in the rabbit hole, y'all. And I feel that some of you out there are relating to some of that. We use lots of things in our lives as humans, as the people of the society, to fit into the quote-unquote normal box. Oh, they're normal. How would you describe your neighbors? Yeah, man, they're nice. They seem normal. Well, what is normal? Do you guys know what normal is? Because I don't. It never made any sense to me. Oh, yeah, they're fine. They're normal. Are they? Normal how? So, a lot of people that I know and have known will use their insecurities as a driving force to make themselves out to be something that they truly are not in order to fit in, to appear to be successful, to appear to be happy, to appear to be important. Important to who? Are you being important to yourself? Or are you just wanting some accolades because you worked your ass off and you achieved some things? Got that plaque. Got to go on the corporate trip and play golf. That's one thing that I have learned, and I'm obviously become cynical over it, but I truly believe now at 49 and nearly a half that what really matters in life Money's great. Money is nice. It is. But if you are a fucking asshole and you hate yourself, but you got a lot of money, that money's worthless to you, right? Being successful, being happy, treating yourself well, being present, being available and present for people in your life, loving your life, loving what's going on around you, embracing the moment. I've been doing that a lot lately, well, over the past couple years, and I'm really proud of myself for doing that. I really, I got involved in youth athletics. My kids have, they started off in soccer several years ago, and I don't know squat about soccer, but I coached soccer, and then I coached basketball and flag football, and I didn't know squat about baseball, but I joined up with a neighbor of mine who knew a lot about baseball, an incredible coach, and I just watched him and I learned a lot about baseball, and I can coach baseball now. And I made a vow to myself that while I am doing this and I am with my kids and their friends, that I'm going to be, what matters most is what I'm doing at that moment. But those kids, trying to be an example, trying to, teach some lessons. Not like, in football, we grow the man. God, that drives me nuts. But just lessons in self-confidence. Lessons in not being hard on yourself. Not being hard on other people, right? And just being in the moment and having fun. Because honestly, at that age, literally, you're just playing a game. You're truly playing a game. And that really, it did help me sort out a lot of criticisms of myself. It sorted them out like a rock collection, but it didn't, I didn't take those rocks and, remove them or try to remove them. I just was like, well, yeah, I definitely do that. Yeah, that's who I am. That's me. I criticize myself. Yeah, sure do. But hey, what are you going to do? Just keep it moving. And I gotta really be aware of that. I gotta really try and knock that off, man. Because, the self-criticism for me, it gets me in like a real shitty mood and I just become a real jerk. No one wants to be around me. I'm grumpy. Insecurities, expectations. It's a dangerous road, I feel. Dangerous in terms of how you treat yourself. Insecurities are hard. Insecurities are very tough. Insecurities come from weird places. Environment, circumstances, Getting through those, though, is really, really difficult. Learning to love yourself, be cool with yourself. It's a work in progress, I'll tell you that. Maybe that's where the marathon training came in. Like, well, okay, there's truly never a finish. Well, there is a finish line in life. You just don't really. I don't know so much if you get a medal at the end of your life. Maybe you do. I don't know. But you train and you train and you train. And then one day you finish. And hopefully you finish with a flourish. But the insecurities and the expectations and, trying to be somebody that you feel can fit in anywhere. I definitely am a chameleon, if you will. I have the ability to really work a room. What I mean by that is maybe it's a survival tactic that I've honed over the years, but I'm really able to pick up on the vibe in a room. I can listen to some of the things that people are saying and pick up on what they're talking about, how they're talking, and I can emulate that and I can fit right in and I can start up a conversation and then I can become just like one of them. You know, I really started to notice this about myself when I was, I was 16, I think. Anyway, we took a family road trip out to Oklahoma City. I have family in Oklahoma, and there were some cousins there that I hadn't met. And anyway, we hung out for a few days in Oklahoma, and by the time we left, I completely had this accent, this Oklahoman accent, and I didn't really even notice I was doing it. And I've paid attention to that about myself ever since. And depending on where I am, I can pick those up. And through that, I've been able to pretend to be other people, or and fit in, or so I thought. Maybe if I act this way, they'll. I fooled a lot of people. Tell you that. Fooled myself most of all, because I didn't know how to be honest with myself, clear-headed about who I am. And we're always evolving. I could say I didn't. I am who I am because of who I am, and I always needed to know why. I had to know the why. Why am I that way? And it did help to a point, and then it just got carried away. And it kind of drove me to a breakdown. Really, this like high functioning nervous breakdown, which was necessary, challenging for a lot of people in my life, my family in particular. But for me, it was necessary. And thankfully, I am so grateful for the family I have, because they were supportive and they stayed with me as I was just losing it. I'm just thinking back on that. That was intense. It was really intense. But I did learn a lot about myself during that. And I learned that I was safe and that I was okay. And that, those things happened. They sure did. All of it. But there's not a damn thing you can do about it. So you can remain angry and resentful and kick the shit out of yourself over it. Use it to justify your depression, your anxiety. I used to use it as a great reason for my drinking. If you went through what I went through, you would drink too. I've heard that one before. Not an uncommon. But through that, I learned that it's best to accept what happened, as that's the truth. That's the truth, man. That's your life. Okay? It happened. Was it great? No, it wasn't a lot of fun. So what can you take from it? What can you learn from it? Who are you now because of it? Because no one has the perfect life. There's no yellow brick road that is just smooth sailing. Although I don't know if the yellow brick road was really that smooth. But anyway, you get the point. Everybody has their challenges. They've had to overcome things. And those challenges, those things they've had to overcome have taken a toll, had a cost. But what do you do with that? Well, you can file it away. Meaning you could just shove it deep down inside. You could ignore it, or you could use it to motivate yourself. I'm an ass kicker. That happened, and it made me the ass kicker I am today. And I'm an ass kicker because I'm afraid. Yeah. That's what it's like. It's what happens, man. It's what happens. Things fuck us up. They make us question ourselves. We get scared. We don't know what to do. So we try and put on a facade, a front. Try to be somebody that we're really, truly not. Sip of water. Been talking so much, my voice is going. Yes, somebody that we're not. And that I catch myself, listening back to the last episode, the therapy episode. I was laughing a lot when I'd be talking about, explaining sort of a criticism of myself. I would just kind of, self-deprecating. I'd make fun of myself while doing it, as to, disarm, right? But it wasn't, I wasn't being honest with myself. And self-honesty, good God, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Reaching deep down inside, digging down in the darkness, down in the rabbit hole, pulling it all up, turning a light on and having a look at it. Yeah, have a good look at it. It's okay. It's all right. Don't be freaked out by it. It's there. It's true. And that's cool. It's cool. It's cool. Accept it. It's what makes it you. That's what makes you. You got your DNA and you got your life experiences. Things that have happened to you throughout your life that have created the being that is you, the person that is you, the personality that is you. And you gotta like them. How, Chad? How do you like yourself? I tell you what, when I get the answer, I'll be sure and let you know. Because I don't think it's going to be 100%. All right? I'm looking at like a 80, 85%. I can work with that. And I can use that other, 20 to 15% to improve myself, to learn more about myself, to share with others. Press upon my kids. Press upon. Wow. See, now this laugh is me covering up for the fact that I was just kicking the shit out of myself in my own head because I completely, misspoke there. Wow. So wild. So very, very wild. And then, along with the inner critic is the imposter syndrome. And that too is a big one for me. They kind of go like hand in hand, peanut butter and jelly, if you will. The imposter syndrome is that, I, for the most part, on a daily, hourly basis, have this feeling that I am going to be found out as a fraud. I don't belong here. You, sir, are not who you say you are, and we don't want you here because you are full of shit. You're a bullshitter, sir. And, man, I don't know where that came from, but holy smokes. I have a tough one with that. I have mentioned this before. On Thursday nights, I have a meeting here in my house up in the attic. I got this really groovy attic. It's like a in-law unit, wood paneling, wood floors, jacuzzi tub. Come by, check it out. Throw some bubbles in there. You can have a good time. But, a lot of my friends show up, these guys show up and they come up. They're in the room. That could be anywhere from like 15 to 20 people. We got half a dozen or more on Zoom. So, there's a good collection of people. On average, it's like 20 to 25 people. And as I'm, prepping for everyone to show up, starting the coffee, yes, people drink coffee at night. I don't know how, but they do. And getting like the Zoom and all that stuff connected, I'm just thinking to myself, like, these guys are going to one day just laugh at me for doing this. Like, who am I to think that I can like open up my house and have these people here and we could talk about things and help each other out? Who am I to do that? And every single Thursday night that I have people over here, I go through this. I get this knot in my stomach and sort of this like, pang of anxiety. That, Jesus, man, you are such a fucking fraud for doing this. You're not. What are you doing? You're not doing any good. You're not helping people. You're not helping yourself, man. Just go back downstairs and watch Netflix. And then when everybody leaves to go home, I'm on this incredible high. I did it. In that, my friends are like, Jesus, Chad, cut yourself some slack. Give yourself a break, man. Whew. Take it easy. Like, you're doing good stuff here. And I don't want to give myself that recognition. I don't want to accept that about myself. That I do what I can to help others. And sometimes I do. Sometimes, some of the actions that I take have helped people. And I don't give myself credit for that. And I should. And it's my ego that tells me that I don't really deserve it, that, did you, what did you do, man? What really did you do? And I'm really quick to just move on from what it was and not enjoy the fact, it feels good to help somebody. It feels good to teach someone something. In high school, I grew up on the Oregon coast, and it's gorgeous. We used to do these, they called them outdoor education. I think a lot of places have it, or what we call it? Land lab. That's what it was. Land lab. And when you were in high school, you can volunteer to be an instructor out in the woods or at the tide pools, and they would station, the high schoolers at various places. Like, I'm going to teach the kids about how to tell the difference between these two trees just by looking at the bark. Or I'm going to, here's this tide pool. Let me show you what lives in this tide pool, why they live there, the symbiotic nature of them all. And I would have a blast with that. And the kids would leave knowing things, and I'd feel really good. I felt really good about that. And, but if I do that now as an adult, wow, everybody thinks ego is all about, ego can be positive, but the ego can be very negative. I have a very negative ego. I'm an egotistical, selfish guy, but in a negative way. And by negative, I mean just pissing on my own parade. It's interesting as I'm sitting here telling you guys this stuff that I just recognize it. My posture's all weird. I'm hunched over. And it feels very comfortable to me. The rolled over shoulders, the slouch. Don't let anybody in. Don't let them penetrate. Don't let the happiness in, man. Don't let it in. Don't let the light in. Yeah, it the chaos and the misery, what's the saying? Misery loves company. And it's true. Misery can be a very comfortable place to be, especially if you have others to join you. But what's a lot better than the misery is when you're happy and you have people around you that are happy, and you're happy with each other, and you support each other, and you laugh and you cry and you hug, or hell, sometimes you just sit in that comfortable silence, trying to calm the brain. My brain is one that is difficult to calm. It is it is a circus up there, man. It is a fucking circus in my brain with a TV going in the background at all times. Yeah, that silence right there, it was kind of nice. Well, I ran out of time there. I looked over and I had been talking, and it had stopped. The software that I use only gives me 30 minutes at a clip, and it's amazing to me that I can sit down here by myself and just talk out loud for a half an hour with no one around. And I thought, while I was, resetting everything, that I feel good about what I'm sharing here, and I think I hope you take something from it. I do, and I hope you enjoy it. And a lot of it can be kind of serious. So I thought, well, what the hell? Let's tell a story. And I'm going to tell you a story. One thing that I would like to preface this story with is that as a teenager, as an adolescent, I was not large. I am what you would call a late bloomer. I didn't crack 100 pounds, y'all, until I was a senior in high school. I was little and light. And I have had, a concussion or two. And this story I'm about to share with you is how I received the greatest concussion that I have ever received in my life. Now, this story takes place in the, I want to say the spring of, was it the spring? Yeah, no, I don't know. 92, 93, fall 92, spring 93, somewhere in there. A friend of mine, there were three of us. We got tickets to go see Megadeth at the Lane County Fairgrounds, which is in the Eugene, Oregon area. Eugene sits in Lane County. And the fairgrounds are your typical fairgrounds. Now, they have a hall there, where it's got like a stage. And often I think that's probably where they have the crafts for the Lane County Fair. Maybe that's where you can go find the roses or the pies or, the crochet, what have you. But there's a concession area in there. And it's a box. It's a large, square, open space, except for the concessions. The concessions are kind of, walled off in the back. But the performing area, is this walled off square. And at one end of it is a stage. And the floor is concrete. I mean, hard. The opening act comes out, and they're terrible. And we're having a good time, and, my friends are like, well, let's get in the pit, man. And, we're trying to get in the mosh pit. And I'm like, I don't think this is a real good idea for me. But, I'm in there. I'm getting knocked around and knocked around and knocked around. Now, I have to go back for a second because this is an important part of the story that I forgot to start with. We were waiting in line to get into the hall. And I don't know how long we were out there, but there was a guy in front of me, this real jovial guy. Had a lot of shaggy blonde hair, like golden blonde hair. And, he was very much a dude, bro. Hey, bro, man, you ready for the show, man? We're going to have so much fun, bro. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, man, all right. And I was having a good time with the guy. He was funny. And so we get inside. And there was an energy in there, man. There was a vibe. I just picked up on it right away, like, oh, God, I'm not so sure I should be here right now. Well, we all get into the inside, to the box where the stage is. And the opening act comes out. They were not very good. And again, back to the pit. Getting knocked around in the pit a bit. And me and my two friends we're talking, and one of my buddies is talking to a couple of the people around us, and they're these big dudes, scruffy, look like they're ready to fight at a moment's notice. They're there to get it on in the mosh pit. One of them looks at me and's like, "Hey man, you want to go up?" And I was like, "Up? What do you mean up?" And then the next thing I know, I'm lifted up. And I am on the crowd, and they're passing me around, and there's, I don't know, a couple thousand people in this place. and I'm just getting passed around. Like, because I'm like, what am I, 110 pounds? And they're just passing me around. And somebody yells, "Little guy!" And I'm like, "Little guy?" And somebody said, "Hang on, man." I'm like, "Hang on for what?" And they just like an express train, they sped me all the way up to the front to the barricade. Now, while that's going on, the house lights go down. And there was a curtain up, right? And Megadeth had set up behind it, and there's smoke starting, and the band's behind the curtain. You can hear them, like, there's feedback, and they're tuning their instruments. The drums are kind of firing up, and then all of a sudden, through the loudspeakers, there's like machine gun fire and helicopters, and I get more smoke, and it's like, what is going on? Like, they're getting ready to come out and just rock your face off. And we get to the barricade, and the guys that were holding me were like, "All right, man, you ready?" And I'm like, "Ready for what?" And they just tossed me. They threw me to the stage. The only problem is there was about a 8 foot, no, not 8 feet, maybe 6 foot gap between the barricade and the stage. And the stage was elevated about 6 feet off the ground. So me standing, the stage was taller than I was, but they thought they could get me there. And I landed right on the back of my head, just head first, boom, out like a light. And I come to with a security guard like grabbing me by the front of my shirt, and he's shaking me like, "You can't be back here, man." And he could tell right away that I was a hot mess, but I'm coming to, and then the curtain dropping and Megadeth just like, blah! It was like I thought I was in hell. It was the craziest thing. And so the security guard's like, "Oh my God, man. All right, cool. You wait right here. I'm just going to," he like gently puts me down, leans me up against the stage. He's like, "I got to get some help. I'll be right back." So he takes off to, I don't know, go find help. And he leaves, and a short time later, I'm out of it. I have no idea how long he was gone or when this happened, how long after he had dropped me off or set me down. But this really large security guard comes up, and he's like, "Hey, man, you can't fucking be back here." And he's like shaking me. And at that time, the first security guard that was recognized I had a problem was like, "Man, he's hurt. Leave him alone." And the guy just dropped me, and I hit my head on the back of the stage again. And so they pick me up and, shuffle me off into the backstage. And the guys that threw me were just, they thought I was like the coolest guy. They were like, "Yeah, man, fuck yeah." And so many people saw it go down, and I was like a hero to them, but I couldn't stand up. I could barely see. So they take me backstage, and the doctor's like, "Wow, yeah, you are seriously concussed. Here's an ice pack. See you later." And so they send me back out. So I just kind of, was wandering around, and with this giant, bump on the back of my head and an ice pack, and I'm seriously woozy and so out of it. And I'm like, I'm going to go in the bathroom. I'm just going to splash some water in my face, see if I can kind of like snap out of this. Go in the bathroom, do whatever. And I'm leaving. And as I'm leaving, there are these like two security guards or cops, I don't remember what, but they each cop or guard had an arm of this person, and the person that walked by had all this like crazy blonde hair, and it was soaked in blood, and it was like just like stuck to the side of his face. And he looks over at me, and it's the guy that I was standing in line with, and he sees me holding this ice pack, and he's like, "Oh yeah, fuck yeah, man, you too, all right." And then he just went away. And I was like, what is going on? And so I go back into where the show is, and the crowd had it wasn't like the whole space. It was like half full, and everybody kind of had smushed up to the front. So like the back half of the room was there wasn't anybody there. So I just kind of like went off to the side, sat down, and was like resting against the wall watching this concert. And things got really weird. And the crowd started getting really angry. And Dave Mustaine, the lead singer from Megadeth, he was on one that night. And I'm just watching this and like, something does not seem right. I know I'm concussed, but I don't know what's going on over there. It does not seem right. And the next thing I know, the crowd busts through the barricade and they rush the stage, and the band splits, and the crowd goes up there and starts fucking up everything on the stage. And it was like, what is going on? And, I find my friends and we skedaddle and we head back home to North Bend, like an hour and a half drive from Eugene. I was in the back of a Honda CRX. For those who know, there's not a lot of room back there. No seat, no seat belt. I'm just like, sprawled out, concussed in the back of this, sport sedan Honda thing. Get home, the next day in the Register Cigar, which is the paper from Eugene. There was a write-up about this concert. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And flash forward, that was 93. So 20 years later, maybe 15 to 20 years later, I'm channel surfing and I land on this Behind the Music episode. And it was on Megadeth. And Dave Mustaine, who's the lead singer of Megadeth, was talking. And I was like, oh, hey, check it out. And mind you, I'm not like a Megadeth fan. I know some of their music, but it was one of those things like a friend's like, hey, I got tickets. You want to go? It's like, yeah, man, I'll go see him. Why not? And I'm watching the show. I'm like, oh, I want to hear what he has to say. And Dave Mustaine's like, yeah, man, things were really bad for me. He's a sober guy now. And he's like, I was a hot mess. There was this time, man, in Eugene, Oregon. And I was wasted, man. I was a mess and I was angry, and I got the crowd riled up. It was a horrible show. And the next thing I know, they rush the stage and the band splits, and I just take off by myself and I go straight back to my bus, man. And I go in the back of the bus and I shoot up and I overdose and die. And they took me to the hospital and they brought me back to life. I was like, oh my God. I was at that show. He was having a moment, man. Boy, I wonder what Dave Mustaine's self-critic was like at that moment. Yeah, inner critic, right? Yeah, inner critic. He may have been having a moment, folks. He may have. So there you go. That's one of the stories I have about Megadeth because I've seen them twice. Both shows were nuts, but that one takes the cake. So after all the, seriousness and whatnot, there's a fun story for you. I'll try to bring these out from time to time. I'm filled with stories of just the bizarre. All right, everybody. I'm going to get out of here. You go and be kind and loving to everyone. All right. We need to be kind and loving and listening to others. It's good to listen, and it's good to have a conversation. It's fine to disagree. But Jesus, we got to stop hating on each other and yelling at each other. We have to. Nothing is getting done. So be kind and loving to everybody. All right. Have some compassion, some empathy. Be kind and loving to yourself. That goes for me, Chad. Be kind and loving to yourself. Give yourself a big old hug because you deserve it. I'm going to give myself one. Okay? I'm going to see you next time. Don't know what we're going to have lined up, but I know it's going to be fun. It always is. It's never dull, is it? All right. I'm out of here. You guys take care. Talk to you next time.